Hello, hello. How lovely to see everybody coming into the Sacred Grove. Pat and Jackie and Ruth and Perry and Philippa and Elka and Fiona and Diana and Robert, Brian, and so on. Lovely to see you from all over the place. Wonderful. It's good to be back, and do make yourself at home and comfortable. The whole idea behind this Tea with Druids idea is that we create a time where we feel comfortable with each other, settled, quiet, a time, a little sort of oasis of calm, really, in a world that's gone mad. So yes, it's great to be back, Rachel. Thank you. Yes, and Ayesha. So I took a good long break, and I really needed that. And Beltane feels like a good time to be back with you. And I've missed our meetings because I find them I find them very settling and soothing and inspirational myself, actually. Because, you know, the whole idea in Druidry is this work, what we do together isn't us. It's not coming from the ego. It's we're opening to the Arwen and the Nuifre, the physical and spiritual energy that's in nature, the Arwen of inspiration that is coming from the gods, from the spirit world, from the divine. And we create situations where Arwen and Nuifre flow together. And that brings us health at a physical level, it brings us energy, and it brings us calm, and allows us to be more effective in the world. So I don't believe it's a mysticism of escapism at all, but it's a mysticism of engagement in life. And that is actually the kind of quality that Beltane really represents. It represents a time of engagement. Greetings, Vas, from Thessaloniki. Marvelous. And Finland, Henna in Finland. That's fantastic. So Beltane, you know, traditionally, you know, in pagan writing and New Age writing and so on, one tends to read about Beltane as the time of the coming together of masculine and feminine energies and all the rest of it. And yes, but let's look a bit deeper, or let's perhaps look in a slightly different way about what's happening at this time. And those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, you'll be experiencing the opposite time of year, but the opposites always relate to each other. So I hope it's interesting for you anyway. But here up in the northern hemisphere, we're dealing with Beltane, and coming together. There's another way of looking at, which is looking at as engagement. There's a call at this time of year. We've been like dormice, perhaps, wanting to curl up and hibernate through the winter. It's gradually getting warmer, and now we're getting to the stage at Beltane where really we can start to feel spring coming. And there's a desire to go out into the world, perhaps a desire to blossom. And the blossom all around us is encouraging this feeling of wanting to engage with life. As we go into the autumn, the opposite time of year of Samhain, we might feel like disengaging somehow and going indoors and being quiet and so on. And now we want to engage with the world. And there's something very interesting about that. And I want to, what I'd like to suggest is that we do a little Beltane meditation to lead us to a place of peace. And from that place of peace to send our love and our desires for peace to the world, particularly, of course, to Ukraine, all that's happening there, but not forgetting, of course, that such terrible suffering and conflict exists in other places in the world as well. And so let's look at this question of I so want to read what you're saying. It's so many lovely messages. I'm so, but it would be very boring for you if I suddenly was just looking down there reading on your messages. So I will read it afterwards, as is the tradition, with a cup of tea after the session is over. But please know that you're very, very welcome, and it's really good to be back with you. And a little an important aspect of Beltane that I'd like to talk to you about is this idea of the twin fires of Beltane. You may know this card from the Druid Animal Oracle, where you see the two fires burning on the beach there. And for many years, the Order did retreats on Iona. And this is a picture of this beach where we used to go, where we would light two fires. We'd get driftwood, and we'd make two piles, and there'd be usually about 20 of us from the Order on retreat for a week together. And we would light as it got dark and all the stars started to come out. And of course, up on Iona, the light pollution is very reduced. And so beautiful skies with all the stars out and the moon and these two fires burning. And then we would walk between the fires in the ceremony. And the idea of walking between two fires, at one level, it comes from this tradition of passing the cattle through fires, because fire was seen as purifying. And after being confined in the winter with their fleas and bugs and all the rest of it, the idea is you lead them, through the fires. Maybe there's a practical idea around cleansing, and it's also spiritual as well. And so in our ceremonies, we will often walk through two fires, or as I have here, if you're doing your ceremony at home, you might perhaps want to walk between two candles. So I'm trying to turn. There's always this funny thing. There we go. Look at that, this beautiful candle made by Ziggy. So in Vienna. So what happens? What does this mean, walking between two fires? Well, the concept of the gateway is absolutely critical in Druidry. This is why every lesson of the Order has this image of the trilithon, the gateway. You are invited in every lesson in the Order to step through a gateway into new territory of understanding and of knowledge. And the gateway is something, when you're going for a walk in a forest and you come to two trees. Here are two little Christmas trees that somebody gave us. And there are certain times when you're walking in the woods, I don't know if you felt this, where you go between two trees and you stop because you can feel it feels special. There's a kind of energy, and you pause between the two trees. And if they're close enough, you might put your hands out and touch each side. So we sense this as a gateway, and of course, the symbolism of that is so powerful because we come through the gateway of our mother's womb into the world. When we go on journeys in the other world, gateways are really important. If you're traveling in the other world and you see a gateway, it's usually important to stop and to pause at the gateway to ask for permission to go through, and if it's right to go through, and then you step through and you're in another world. And then you learn to come down. This is something I taught my kids in Brocéliande, to recognize such trees as gateways, says Héliette. Brocéliande is this lovely magical forest in Brittany. Yes, exactly. So Beltane uses the power of the symbol or the idea of the gateway. The two. So the gateway is working with duality. It's working with the two. And it's quite easy to get distracted in a way with Beltane, to think about it in terms of gender, or the masculine and feminine energies and all the rest of it. But think for a moment about what it means to be going in between two energies, whatever they are. And what I'd like to suggest really is that walking between the two gateways, we are walking through duality to the one. We are going to the non-dual, to use that terminology if you're familiar with it, the non-dual, which is the oneness. Here's two-ness, and we go through two-ness, and we honor two-ness. Excuse me, I got COVID in January, and I still have a kind of aftermath of that with a cough that won't go away. So so here's what I'd like to invite you to do, is to come with me through two-ness to oneness. And let's do that by going through the Beltane fires, if you want to. And the great thing about these tea with the Druid sessions is that one can just listen to them as listening to somebody talking, and or you can actually enter into it and carry out the visualization, either in a very easy, playful way, just playing with your imagination, or you can enter more deeply into it if you want to. But they're always deliberately short and brief. And so what I want to suggest now is that we just allow ourselves time just to become aware of being seated. I'm going to place my gateways either side of me. I don't think you can see it because I don't want to hold them up all the time, because I'll lose my concentration. But I'm going to place these two candles either side of me here. So I'm sitting facing the gateway, talking to you. So let's imagine now, let's be aware of being seated in front of the computer or the tablet or the phone, just fully present to where you are now, but at the same time allowing, to the degree that's comfortable, your sense of reality to shift. So you allow yourself to come into an awareness of being in the sacred grove. It's a large clearing in the forest, this beloved place of the Druids, the clearing in the forest, a place of safety and of calm and of beauty, where you can sit with your fellow Druids and friends, connecting to the earth. And you take a few moments placing the palms of your hands on the earth, sitting yourself in a comfortable place, placing the palms of your hands on the earth and just feeling the energy of the earth beneath you. And you feel the energy of the earth beneath you, and it takes your weight. You can allow any sense of heaviness you have just to drop into the earth. You feel a kind of grounded energy by being seated on the earth. But you also notice, particularly as you breathe in, the way the earth is giving you energy too, and it's flowing up into your body, making you feel energized, calm, stable. You sense the energy in the earth too, all the life, the little creatures in the earth, the stones, the worms, all the creatures in the earth. And now you become aware of the trees around you, sensing the trees rooted firmly in the earth, their branches, their trunks soaring upwards, their branches. And you sense your colleagues too in the circle, your friends, seated like the trees, planted in a circle around, sitting quietly, communing with the trees, communing with the earth. And you sense the sky above. and you breathe in the energy of the sky. And the energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And as you breathe in the energy of the sky, it vitalizes you and energizes you and enlivens you. And you open your inner eyes now in the sacred grove. And you see that there's 2 fires burning. In the center, there's small fires burning. And one by one, each person just stands up and walks towards the center of the circle and stands with a fire to either side of them. Everyone else in the circle is just chanting quietly. So there's a gentle hum. And it's your turn now. And you walk towards these 2 fires. And you stop at the point where you sense the fire to your left and the fire to your right. And you feel yourself warmed by the fires, energized by the fires. In this moment, may all duality be resolved within me. May I step forward into oneness. And you step forward now, you move forward. And at one level, you're just walking around the circle just to regain your position where you were seated before. But you're different. This small ritual gesture has made a difference. And you walk around and you sit back down again and you close your inner eyes. And in this place of oneness and of peace, you become aware of yourself seated in the circle. And you sense yourself gradually rising up above your body and seeing the circle of the grove, the circle with people seated around these 2 fires burning. And just do this playfully. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. But if you can do it, just do it in your imagination. You just imagine yourself rising up above the forest. You can see this circle of people. It's so beautiful to see these 2 little fires burning. But now you're getting higher up. You see the forest below you. And you're going up and up and up into the atmosphere until you start to see the planet below you, and you're coming up to the meniscus between the atmosphere and outer space, and you just pop through the meniscus and you keep on going, and you look down and you stop at a point where you see the earth as this beautiful blue pearl, blue and white pearl. And you sense that you are joining now all those beings, those archangelic presences, those divine presences, all those beings who love and care for the earth and who wish to protect it. And you sense the earth, and you feel your love for the earth as you feel your love for a child, for an animal, a feeling of care, of wanting to protect it. May this planet and all those who live upon it be safe, be protected, be at peace with each other. May love triumph. May the reality of love prevail on earth. And as you hold the earth in your heart and in your love, you sense how there are so many other people doing this too, and other intelligences and beings holding the earth in love. Beltane is the time of transmutation, the time of change. It's now chemical time. May the energy of Beltane, of transmutation and change, pervade the earth. And then letting these feelings and thoughts flow to the earth, you come back to an awareness of yourself as you start to travel down towards the planet, and you feel yourself coming down through the vastness of space to the meniscus, down through the meniscus into the atmosphere of the earth. You see the forest below, and you see this, like an eye almost, this clearing in the forest with these two fires burning. Coming down, until you find yourself seated in the circle. And you stretch out your left hand and your right hand, and you hold the hand of the person to your left and your right. And you sense now that everyone in the circle is holding their hands, is holding hands. And you sense how this feels exactly as it felt when you were above the earth, a circle of people who care for the earth and who love the earth. And you sense as a group how the whole group is wishing for harmony and peace. And with that sense of a pebble that's dropped in a pond with the ripples spreading out, you sense the calm and the peace that you feel in this moment, just gently rippling out across the earth. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail on earth. Taking a deep breath, a little squeeze to either hand on either side of you. You let go of the hands. You come to a sense of yourself. You sense yourself seated in the circle, and then you allow that sense of being in the circle, in the sacred grove, to gently fade as you become more and more aware of being seated in front of your computer or your screen, fully present, here and now. And then when you feel ready, you open your eyes. And in the end, it seems to me that when it comes to being in relationship to suffering and difficulty, each of us will have perhaps different ways of dealing with it. But for me, this is this is what feels right in the way to work. Of course, helping in practical ways in terms of donating money or being of any practical use that one can. But because one of the key ideas in spirituality is that the spiritual world is causal to the physical, so that what we think, what we project from our minds and our hearts influences the physical world, then this is what we can do together. So thank you for being here on this Beltane evening. Beltane, stretches for a number of days. These Celtic fire festivals, they're not astronomical ones, so they're not a particular time on the 1st of May, for instance. It's like a little season, little mini season, if you like. And it's lovely to read your comments. Marie Giorgio, let's see if I can grab that one. I think if I click it, here we go. And then, I've forgotten how I get, there we go. Thank you, Marie. Yes. So, okay. So really good to see you. And I look forward to seeing you again and being with you again next Monday. At some point, we're going to Scotland and we'll have a guest, another Druid. But lovely to be with you. And do continue to make your comments, because I shall read them when I bring up another cup of tea, and read your comments. So many blessings, lots of love. Have a very good week, and see you next week. Okay, bye.